Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A very good evening, everyone. Our this session is on the topic innovative heat exchangers, and we have with us Dr. P.R. Dhamagaonkar. Sir, you're working as an associate professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering and associate dean of student affairs, College of Engineering, Pune. You received your PhD from Savitribai Phule University. You did your MBA and DBM from Amravati University. Sir, your research interests include steam technology, heat exchanger design. You design and develop Forbes Marshall Steam Technology Center. You're a recipient of Unicorn Innovation Award, Forbes Marshall Best Project Award, Dronacharya Award by SAE INS. You have 23 research papers to credit and you are a member of SAE and ISTE. Sir, I would request you to please start with the presentation.
Thank you very much for a nice introduction. Without wasting any time, I will start the presentation because the time available is hardly 1 hour and the scope of the subject is vast. Contribute to energy saving. They also contribute to enhancing the performance, and hence the role of heat exchanger in the industry is very, very important. Nowadays, the demand is changing fast, not only in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality also. There are restrictions by the government. For example, pollution control norms are there. So hence, the contribution of heat exchangers in process industry is day by day changing also. There are different types of heat exchangers as we know. The basic heat exchanger classification is a parallel flow, counter flow, cross flow. It is also based on its construction, how the working fluids take part in the heat transfer process. I will not go into that fundamental part. But it is said that the shell and tube type heat exchanger is the versatile heat exchanger. It is used in most of the different applications, starting from simple domestic use to a huge industrial use. And hence, for example, I will first take into account the shell and tube type heat exchangers. The advantage is that it can be used in condensing, boiling, or even single phase applications, two phase applications. It can be utilized over a wide range of pressure and temperature. It can be constructed from a variety of materials to meet corrosion and other design requirements. It is simple and it is also straightforward for maintenance as compared to other heat exchangers. It can accommodate various physical orientations, horizontal, vertical, even series, parallel, whatever you want, that can be very well cope up with the shell and tube type heat exchangers. But these heat exchangers, they have certain problems, a very specific problems. You will find that it is a shell and tube type heat exchanger with baffles. These are the baffles and these black spots. These black spots, they are sometimes called as dead spots, where there is a tendency of collecting a fouling material or a scaling material. There is a problem with flow distribution channel. There is a problem with flow-induced vibrations. And hence, though the shell and tube type heat exchangers are good in design, there is a need to go for certain changes, improve the performance efficiency. These are some of the causes that are given as a low flow area or dead zones, which will cause fouling or corrosion. energy when the fluid moves to the baffle, there is a pressure drop, and thus the energy is consumed. There are flow-induced vibrations, and hence it is now need to go for some innovation. What that innovation can be? Innovation is first performance of heat exchanger. As we know, the performance of heat exchange is given in terms of effectiveness. So how to improve this effectiveness? How to counteract the fouling problems? It is really a great problem because the working fluid, the material, they have affinity with each other. And thus this affinity leads to either fouling or corrosion. And this has to be eliminated because the fouling layer or the scaling layer, as everyone knows, it adds to a resistance and thus the heat flow or heat transfer rate is reduced. So it is necessary to remove this. It is now required to have a higher duty with as small as possible space, and thus it is necessary to go for a compact heat exchanger, wherein the surface area to volume ratio is very, very large, so that the smaller space will give us the higher rate. Then there should be a good trade-off. That is, the cost of the heat exchanger should be as minimum as possible. Of course, not performance. And lastly, it is necessary to increase the overall efficiency of the system or the plant. And hence, it is now necessary to go for reinventing the heat transfer mechanism, reinventing the heat exchangers. So what are the different advances in heat exchangers? Let us first again concentrate towards the shell and tube type heat exchanger. In shell and tube type heat exchangers, the researchers, they have tried with advances in two different modes and methods. Development and second is the tube side development. What are the shell side development? As we know, one fluid passes through the tube and another fluid passes through the shell. The fluid which passes through the shell, it is exposed to a higher surface area, and hence there is need to enhance the heat transfer coefficient. As we have seen in heat exchanger, due to baffles, there is a tendency of pressure drop, there is a tendency of loss in energy, as variation in velocity, and thus there is a tendency of change in the heat transfer coefficient. They are basically of four types. One is the twisted tube heat exchanger. Second is the tube fin geometries, different tube fin geometries are used. Third is helical baffle heat exchanger. It is called as helix changer. And fourth is rod baffle heat exchangers. On the tube side, there are tube inserts, and even different plates are also used for improving the flow pattern and the flow velocity or the flow configuration. This is a twisted tube heat exchanger. As it is seen, the tubes are twisted and they are assembled in such a way that, as shown in this figure, this assembly, it is having a point of contact. After each 1 inch, there is a point of contact, and the tubes are placed in such a way that one tube, it is fixed or surrounded by the 6 surrounding tubes, and thus the configuration. The better part is that the flow induced vibration is reduced. Contact points every inch to eliminate vibration, and each tube is locked in place surrounding tubes. And this is how the shell side flow pattern is established. There is a less restriction, there is less pressure drop and higher heat transfer coefficient, and thus the higher heat transfer rate. Then on shell side, as we know, it is possible to provide different fins on the outer surface. The factor or the importance of providing fins is to increase the surface area, and second is to impart the turbulence to the flow. So the researchers have tried different fin geometries. This is fully cut on helix, as shown. The tube is provided with the fins which are fully cut, and these tubes are placed in a helical order or in a helical shape. This is full helix. Fins are spirally fixed. These are the annular fins which are placed on the outer part, and thus the heat surface area is improved. This is fully cut along the axis, but it is not a helical fins. These are the annular fins, but these are fully cut annular fins. These are the stub fins. So you will find that they are placed at certain points, and thus this acts as a pin fins. This is partially cut helix. These are serrated fins. Then the slotted wavy fins. In addition to this, I have come across one literature wherein the hair fins, very small hair fins, they are also tried on providing on an outer surface to improve the heat transfer rate. Now, these are some of the unique heat exchangers which are called as helical baffle heat exchangers or called as helix changers. See, here, in a conventional shell and tube type heat exchanger, the baffles are vertical, the straight baffles. They can be a 3/4 baffle, half baffle, or half cut baffle. But in this case, the baffles are put in a helical form in different quadrants. They are fixed in such a way that they form an helix. Due to this, there is a less resistance offered by the baffles to the flow, and thus the heat transfer coefficient is improved. At the same time, heat transfer rate is improved. Now there is a question, which angle will offer a more heat transfer rate, or which angle will offer more heat transfer coefficient? The analysis is also done. The advantage is it is the higher thermal effectiveness is obtained, enhanced heat transfer coefficient, effective conversion of shell type pressure drop to heat transfer, because as there is no flow restriction, the flow of fluid passage is very, very smooth. So there is less pressure drop. And now this less pressure drop, can be converted into a higher heat transfer rate. As there are no dead spots, thus the fouling tendency of this heat exchanger is minimum. Due to this low fouling characteristics, there are certain benefits. One is the reduced maintenance cost. Then there is a lower loss of production cost, as the maintenance cost is less. So production cost is less because the outage cost is less. What is the outage? Outage period, it is that period which is used for maintaining the component or the equipment when it is in breakdown state or it is in a periodical shutdown state. That is, it is the time from the shutdown to commissioning. So this time is called as an outage time. It is necessary to reduce this outage time as low as possible. So as the maintenance cost is reduced, as the maintenance period is reduced, certainly this outage period is also reduced, and due to this, the outage cost is reduced. And thus the operating cost is also reduced. It will give the higher heat transfer rate, and thus there is a fuel saving. These are two different types of helix available. First is the single helix. You will notice that a single helix, it goes around the tubes, and it is a double helix. So this color, violet color, shows one helix, and the green color shows another helix. So these are the two helix. Due to this, there is a proper distribution of fluid along the tube surfaces, and thus no tube component will face a starvation of fluid. entire surface gets in contact with the fluid and heat transfer rate is improved. This is the graph or the chart that shows that these are some of the lines which gives us the degree of angle. It is helix at 17 degrees, 40 degrees, 41 degrees, 25 degrees, and 34 degrees. And this is the pressure drop. And on y-axis, it is heat transfer coefficient. We find that the preferred is lower pressure drop. This is the lower pressure drop and higher heat transfer coefficient. If we look into this graph, this green line, it is giving the highest pressure, highest heat transfer coefficient, and at the same time, its pressure drop is also less as compared to this yellow, which is at 17 degrees, and this brown, which is at nearly it is straight. So thus, it is preferred to go for the helix with 40 degree. This will give us higher heat transfer coefficient as well as lower pressure drop. Of the helix changer, the helix angle or these baffles, they are placed at 40 degrees with the vertical, and this is what the angle is called as. Now this helix changer has a very typical applications. Of course, these are not limited to these applications. I have only listed down 3 applications. One is the refining or the petrochemical industries. Second is the chemical process industry, and third is the power industry. Now there is another innovation or advancement in the shell and tube type heat exchanger, particularly baffle. The problem with baffle is that it offers a resistance to the flow. Then it offers some black spots, and it has a tendency of developing a fouling. So hence there is need to remove these baffles, but still offer a sort of flow movement to create a turbulence and thus the improvement in heat transfer coefficient. These rod baffle exchangers, as shown in figure, there are no baffles. But these rods, they are placed along the tubes in such a way that they will support each other. At the same time, they will support the tubes, and thus there is a flow improvement, and the flow pattern will lead to higher heat transfer coefficient. This is also called as 4-point configuration. Now let us go fastly to the tube side developments. The tube side developments are basically leading to the breaking of boundary layer. As we know, when the fluid passes through the tubes, there is a tendency of developing a boundary layer at the surface. And this boundary layer, when the flow gets into a sort of laminar flow and a boundary layer is formed at the surface, it will offer a heat resistance to the heat transfer, and hence the overall performance is reduced down. So it is necessary, number one, see that the boundary layer is not formed, or if the boundary layer is formed, then retention of boundary layer is for a lower period of time. So there should be a breakage of boundary layer at the faster rate, and hence there is necessity to go for some developments which will lead to offering a turbulence to the flow so that the boundary layer is not formed. And this is obtained or attained by using certain inserts. So these are tube inserts. The most of the work, it is done by one business organization that is called as Total, and second is the ELF. So this is ELF is an industry, and second is Total, it is also an industry. So their name, they are with their organization name. So it is Spirelf, Turbotal, and Pixotal. It is nothing but an insert, wire insert, which is in the spiral shape, and it is fixed at the upstream, and the downstream is not fixed. So what happens that when it moves, so the flow, due to this flow, this is the flow is get converted into a spiral form, and thus there is a breakage of boundary layer. And this is fixed at one end. It is a spiral system, or it is called as a spiral inserts. It has a dual effect. One is the mechanical and second is the turbulent. Mechanical effect is that it is lead to fouling reduction because there is no blockage, there is no space or surface which will restrict the flow, and thus the fouling is reduced. And second is the turbulent. Due to this, the heat transfer coefficient is increased because the turbulence is increased. Turbot is a unique insert, which is a rotating insert. It continuously keeps on rotating. It is fixed at one end and free at another end. And thus when the fluid passes, keeps on rotating. And thus continuously the boundary layer is broken. It is placed in such a way that it will have a contact with surface when it rotates, and thus there is a breakage of boundary layer. The fixotal, it goes along with its name. It is also a sort of a wire coil, spiral coil, but the only difference is that during the entire operation, this wire is fixed at both ends and fixed with the surface. Always the wire is fixed with the surface. Of a wire coil which is inserted inside every tube. Once it is fixed, it has no possibility of displacement, hence no vibration, no rotation, no translation, and thus the device can be removed easily for whatever maintenance part is required, and it has a very higher performance rate and very pressure drop. Some of the benefits of inserts: first is the heat transfer increase, second is energy saving, because if there is no fouling, if there is less pressure drop, thus the pumping power required is less. Fouling, then the heat transfer rate is increased, thus the efficiency is increased, and hence there is always energy saving. Of preheat trends, reduction in fouling, stabilized pressure drop, run duration is increased. Run duration means the run, that is the overall working period or working hours of the heat exchanger. Or in short, we can say that the time between the two shutdowns, that is increased, and hence the total run duration of the equipment is increased. And lastly, the indirect part is there, that is CO2 emission is reduced, because ultimately we are energy. So hence, in other way, it is the CO2 emission is reduced. If the heat exchanger is used for recovery of heat recovery, then obviously the CO2 emission is reduced. Now going to some basic concepts. Now let us go to the recent developments in the heat exchanger design. There are two principal requirements. The thermohydraulic point of view, the main objectives of the new heat exchanger technology must fulfill. First is, it is smaller required heat transfer area and volume for the same heat duty and pressure drop consumption. Means it is the heat exchanger must be as small as possible, but without compromising the heat transfer rate, without compromising the assigned duties. And second is increase heat load for the same installed heat transfer area within the limitations imposed by the permitted pressure drop. So these are the two requirements. Let us go to now the next topic, that is as this is known to everyone as plate type heat exchange. It is a compact heat exchanger and mostly used in most of the industries. It is a compact heat exchanger. A plate heat exchanger is a type of heat exchanger that uses metal plates. Let us see. Let me check. Is it visible? See, these plates are fixed to the holding frame. Now, these are the ports through which the fluid will flow. The cold fluid is flowing and it will come out on the same side. You will find that it is flowing along alternate plates. Now the hot fluid is flowing, so there is a counterflow heat exchanger. The hot fluid is also flowing in alternate plates. So between the two plates, there will be either a hot fluid or a cold fluid. And the higher heat transfer surface is made available. So the heat transfer rate is higher. These gaskets, they will offer a leak-proof flow of the fluid. So there is no mixing of two fluids. The vents are provided to allow the air to come out. Now, this is the basic plate type heat exchanger. What is the innovation in the plate type heat exchanger? The problem with the plate type heat exchanger is that as it is made up of a metal, it is very bulky. Its weight is very, very high. So hence there is a necessity to go for reduction of weight. There is one more problem, that is, as the weight is higher, the thermal inertia is higher. The thermal inertia means it is the time taken by that material to reach to a certain temperature. If it is at a room temperature and required to reach to 100 degrees Celsius, it will, if it is a metal, depending on the properties, of course, is higher. So hence it is necessary to see that the thermal inertia is lower. It is necessary to see that the weight is lower. It is necessary to see that the life is not hampered. As it is made up of metal, so there are restrictions on use of certain fluids, because most of the metals, they have certain affinity with the chemicals, and due to this, the chemical reaction, there is problem of corrosion, fouling, etc. And hence there is a need to rethink, can we replace these metal plates by some other material which is not having affinity with majority of the chemicals, a material which is having a lightweight, good strength, and at the same time very easy to manufacture. See, whenever we go for an equipment, there is necessity of verifying the three feasibility terms. The first is the conceptual feasibility, that each and every product, it must be satisfied and it should satisfy the laws of thermodynamics. That is the conceptual feasibility. Then second feasibility is that the manufacturability, that whatever processes we have, then whatever we suggest, it must be manufacturable. And third, the commercial feasibility. Whatever I make, whatever product I develop, it must be sellable product. The consumer must purchase it. So if these three feasibility are satisfied, then we can say that the product is sellable. With this, the researchers have tried to go for a polymer film heat exchanger. As shown in figure, the metallic plates, they are replaced by polymers. And in between the two polymer films, a spacer grid is provided. This spacer grid offers a help for creating a turbulence. As you know, that in the conventional plate type heat exchanger, the form on the plate, that is the array, it offers easy movement of the fluid and distribution of the fluid and creating a turbulence. The similar type of operation is achieved with the help of the spacer grids. And these polymer films, they are very thin film, very light duty film, very thin film, just similar to the plate type heat exchanger. They can be stacked and they will also perform the same type of operation. The only problem with this polymer film is the lower thermal conductivity. In case of metal, as the thermal conductivity is higher, so hence the heat transfer, that is from hot fluid to cold fluid, it is higher. But if this film, which is made up of a polymer having a lower thermal conductivity, of course it will offer higher resistance to heat flow. Then the question is how to get rid of this problem, what to do so that the thermal resistance is reduced and the heat transfer rate is improved. So now the researchers, they have gone with a composite polymer, that in between the polymer, the conductive material mesh is inserted so that it will increase the effective thermal conductivity of the polymer film. The major advantages are the low price, the high corrosion stability, because polymer, it is not having affinity with most of the chemicals. The enormous weight advantage, very light in weight. The density of the polymer is very, very low as compared to most of the metals. So hence it is light duty. It is non-reactive with chemicals. It has attractive surface characteristics. So as we know that for some heat transfer processes, we need a rough surface. For some heat transfer processes, we need a very smooth surface. Let us say condensation. We are not interested, usually we do not prefer the film-wise condensation. It is necessary to go for a drop-wise condensation. And for a drop-wise condensation, we should have a very smooth surface, a finished surface. But if we want to increase the higher heat transfer rate, then in some cases we need a rough surface. So the same material, using appropriate manufacturing processes, it is very feasible to offer the attractive surface characteristics to the polymer films. It is reduced adhesion fouling. As it is having less affinity with chemicals, it is obvious that the corrosion and fouling will be reduced. It has a greater geometric flexibility. That is, as it is polymer, we can go for a additive manufacturing or molding or any other innovative or now the technologically advanced manufacturing process, and we can convert, we can get any shape as per our wish. It is very easy to get converted this polymer, because one more quality of the polymer, that we can melt it and again it can be solidified. So this tendency can be used for getting any desired shape of the plate. So this has a greater geometric flexibility and ease in manufacturing. It requires low energy during manufacturing as compared to the metal plates. This is feasible, but there are certain basic limitations. These limitations are the low thermal conductivity of polymer. It is hardly 0.1 to 0.5 watt per meter Kelvin. Just think of what is the thermal conductivity of most of the conductive material, steel or stainless steel, iron or any copper. Interactions with the surrounding media, that is aging. As we know that if we keep a polymer or a plastic material outside our house, and after some period of time, some months, we find that that plastic or polymer gets decayed. It loses its strength, it loses its quality, and hence this is one of the major problem with the polymer heat exchangers, that it has an aging effect, and thus there is a problem with the mechanical durability. The trade-off is to be taken into account, that is thermal and chemical stability. Because when we offer some thermal performance, the higher thermal performance and the chemical stability, it is necessary to check the economics, and hence sometimes there is a problem. It is mechanically weaker than metal. The strength, the toughness, then the maximum pressure to which it can sustain, the temperature to which it can sustain with this polymer material. The maximum temperature range is about 240 to 410 Kelvin. The allowable pressure is 3 to 6 hepapascals. It has a very low density between 800 to 2200 kg per meter cube. Most of the materials, their density ranges from 24 kg per meter cube to sometimes 9000 kg per meter cube. And the greater problem with the polymer is a thermal expansion. The coefficient of thermal expansion of polymer and metal, they are really comparable. So this polymer material, they will have higher expansion, thermal expansion, as compared to the metallic heat exchangers, and hence these are more prone to deform if they are not properly supported, not properly fixed, not properly strengthened. Then these heat exchangers, they can lead to a deformation. The second is, it is pillow plate heat exchanger. It is really innovative heat exchanger in which, as shown in figure, the two plates, they are fixed at some intermediate spots so that the hollow space is created. Through this hollow space, the fluid will move and it will get in contact at the contact surfaces. And these heat exchangers nowadays, they are used for even power industries, polymer industries, refineries. There are different types of pillow plates. This is single expanded. We can go for a similar metals or two dissimilar metals can be converted into a pillow or a sort of below. This is the plate and this is another plate. This is double expanded, wherein here there is only one channel. But in this case, it is possible to have two channels. So one channel and a lower channel. So there is higher surface area available for a fluid to flow, and thus, of course, the heat transfer rate will also be increased. This is double expanded, but only one channel. And this is double expanded, but having three inner channels, so 1, 2, and 3. So here we can use very innovatively the two different fluids passing through this channel, and thus it is a compact form of heat exchanger. The next figure shows us how these heat exchangers can be used for different applications. So these are the heating tanks which are used for keeping the inner fluid temperature at certain level. This is a duct which is used. This is a hollow type heat exchanger. Outside it is a pillow plate. This is also a pillow plate. This is how it will look like. The two pillow plates, they are clubbed together and the fluid will pass through this. This is a common header. It is a common header through which the fluid will move. This is for inlet vapor and this is for fluid. So now this type of heat exchangers, they can be used for liquid gas or gas as well as liquid. Sir, what time is remaining? Now next is helically coiled heat exchanger. They are used in power industry and they are called as subcoolers or sample coolers. This is another innovative spiral tube or helical tube heat exchanger. Just see how the coils are made. These coils are inserted into a tube and then they are fixed at a common header. These are the very compact heat exchanger and mostly used in the chemical industries or process industries. These are the different coils which are used in the helical coil heat exchanger. This is the construction of the helical coil heat exchanger. This is a shell. In the shell, the coil is inserted. You will notice there is an air vent. This air vent is provided. We will fast go through the specification. These are the shells is carbon steel. Tube bundle is stainless steel. The pressure ratings is 83 gauge pressure. The tube side is nearly 690 gauge pressure. The temperature rating is very high. It is 815 degrees Celsius. The construction shell side it is bolted or welded. Tube side it is welded to manifold joints. Surface area is very large. Surface area is available. Nearly 0.1 to 19 meters square surface area can be made available. It is optimal design for corrosive or fluid gases can be offered. The pressures, higher pressure, nearly 690 gauge pressure, it can sustain. Temperature 815 degrees Celsius. And in this, we can go for a true counterflow or a spiral pattern is available. It is compact and it is safe against hydraulic and thermal shocks. I will not go through this. I will concentrate on one of the very innovative heat exchanger, that is heat pipe heat exchanger. It is nowadays, it is recommended for universal purposes. For most of the purposes, everyone knows the vapor compression cycle, which consists of a compressor, condenser, then expansion valve and the evaporator. From this vapor compression cycle, the compressor, it consumes power. The grooved wick. One end will work as a condenser, another end will work as an evaporator. As shown in here, this end works as an evaporator wherein the heat is received. The working fluid which is inside this duct, it gets evaporated and it will pass through the annulus to the condenser. In the condenser, it will get condensed, so it will give up its heat, the heat is out, it will get condensed, and this condensed fluid will pass through the wick to the evaporator. So this continuous process will go. This is how it will happen. There is slight difference that sometimes it is confused with the thermosiphon and the heat pipe. The thermosiphon, we have discussed this. This is how it happens. It is absorbed. It is getting condensed. It will pass through the wick. And it will go on continuing. Now it is what can be done so that the heat transfer surface is increased. So this is it is a thermosiphon and this is heat pipe. Remember, in thermosiphon, the fluid, condensed fluid, will move down with under the gravity only. It is necessary to have a gravity. But in case of the basic heat pipe, it is not necessary that it will only move with the gravity. I will not go to this. This is heat pipe components. It is a hollow container, a capillary wick structure, and there is working fluid. The heat pipe heat exchanger used for gas-to-gas heat recovery is a bundle of thin heat pipes assembled like a conventional air-cooled heat exchanger. I will show you that picture. The heat pipe consists of three elements. One is the working fluid inside the tube. Second is the wick lining inside the wall through which the condenser moves, through which the fluid gets condensed and it moves. A vacuum-sealed fin tube. As the pipe is sealed under a vacuum, the working fluid is in equilibrium with its own vapor. The purpose of the wick is to transport the working fluid contained within the heat pipe from one end to the other by capillary action. Hence, it is necessary to have a porous wick. The different and advancement in the wick structure is also done. So this is a fin type heat exchanger. See, this it is an where the most heat transfer takes place, and you see the entire heat pipe structure. The heat is added, heat is released. This fin structure offers higher surface area. Usually this type of heat pipes you must have seen, they are provided or we find them in our laptops, in our desktop, in different electronic gadgets. This surface is placed over the IC. This is the processor, and the processor, while doing its work, generate heat. That heat is to be transferred. So this heat is absorbed. It is an evaporator. Then this the refrigerant or the working substance inside the tube gets evaporated. It will pass through the heat pipe, will go to the condenser end. We have seen a fan which will offer a cooling fluid over the fins, and thus that cooling fluid gets cooled, gets into condensate, and it is then further passed through the wick to the evaporator. The hollow container, it is metal tube made up of stainless steel, copper or aluminum or ceramic materials. Now there is a debate whether the heat pipe length should be large enough or it should be shorter, whether the diameter of the heat pipe should be more or it should be smaller. So there is a debate. And when we say that the fluid when gets condensed, but the usual maximum length is between 3 to 4. Now it is clear that have a higher length as compared to the diameter, because the greater length will offer a smaller actual power rating. It is to move the fluid. The working fluid should possess following properties. Now I will go with some fast. High surface tension to provide satisfactory capillary pumping. Good wetting characteristics for the same reason. Low viscosity to aid pumping. High latent heat of vaporization to aid actual heat transfer. High thermal conductivity to aid heat transfer between fluid wall and wick. Freezing and boiling points compatible with the range of operation. High density to reduce flow resistance. And compatibility in relation to corrosion with container wall and wick. And of course, the chemical stability. The wick structure, it is grooved. The wick structure is secured inside wall. Wick structures which are tried for the actual grooved wick structure, the fine fiber wick structure which is placed along the surface, the sintered powder wick structure, and the screen mesh wick structure. So these are the 4 different wick structures. These are how they look like. It is actually grooved, it is fine fiber, it is screen mesh, and a sintered powder. We must ensure the good contact of the wick to have a satisfactory transfer rate. This is homogeneous wick. This is channels and screen, mesh screen. In the screen and the gap provided for easy movement of the fluid. This corrugated screen. In the channel wick and artery. Will not go into this design. So this is the general structure. It is a porous plug because there is always problem with suddenly if the load is changed, the inside fluid quantity is not changed. So hence to cope up with the changing loads, there has to be some sort of buffer, or that is reservoir, and this reservoir offers this capacity to sustain the changing loads. The heat pipe, it was really an essential introduction to the heat pipe. It is really a good part for designing the heat pipe, but as we do not have the time, so we will not go into the design part of heat pipe. But pipe is a sealed pressure vessel with no safety valve. We have already gone through that what pressure it can sustain, and if abused may reach dangerously high pressures, and there is possibility of even explosions. So hence it is necessary to not to play with the heat pipes.